In this video, I'm breaking down the 3 exact steps that I took to go from being a postpartum hot mess to thriving, paying off debt, deeply discovering my purpose, and knowing that I'm on the right path. By the end of this video, you'll have the 3 simplest ways that you can start embodying your human design so that if you are currently feeling like you don't know what your purpose is, you don't know where to go, and you're looking for some guidance, I'll be breaking down those 3 steps as well as my 2 favorite journal prompts that you can go to really unlock something deep within you. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Kylie, and I am a human design, manifestation, and mindset guide that has done over 500 readings for people, as well as facilitated growth and change for thousands of people across the globe. And today, I am really excited to share more simple ways of implementing your human design so that you can see life-changing results. Before we continue, please do me the honor of subscribing to my channel. Now, let's dive in. Let's rewind to where human design in my life started really creating ripple effects. It was May 2024. I will say that at the time, I'd already been living in my design for 4 years. We're now almost into the 6 year mark of living in my design. But at this time, I just brought my second son into the world and was officially a mamapreneur, raising two under two in a foreign country with no extra family support other than the family unit that we have in Dublin. And so I was now trying to figure out what business would look like because I knew it needed to change. And I'd started coming up against different crossroads in my path and really deeply questioning where I should be. Now, as a mom dealing with postpartum hormones and postpartum everything, this was really overwhelming for me. And being an entrepreneur means that if you're not working, you're not necessarily getting paid. And even though I did have systems set up in my business to create passive income, which I could get into for a whole other topic, you still have to promote yourself. And so because I wasn't showing up as consistently because I was raising a family, I'd gotten myself into debt through using credit cards to afford general living expenses and to also sustain the cash flow of my business. Now, this is where things got really interesting. I had set myself a really big task in the May 3.5 weeks postpartum, where I wanted to show the world that I could create $100,000 in a year. And I give myself so much love and grace in even wanting to set such an audacious goal. I didn't reach it, but I learned so much along the way. And hopefully throughout this video, you're going to learn some things too. So let's dive into how human design can change your life, starting with, yes, the most important thing is to follow your strategy and authority. I'm going to be talking about this in 2 separate topics, but let's start with strategy. Why is it so important to follow your strategy? Now, if you are new to human design and you don't know what your strategy is, make sure you download your chart and you find out which energy type you are. You'll either be a manifester, a generator, a manifesting generator, a projector, or a reflector. Once you have that information, you will understand a little bit more on your strategy, which I will have many different videos to describe how to follow your strategy. But that is an important part of how you move through life. And this is why. When you understand how you are designed to move through life, you are able to really understand how to navigate and circumnavigate challenges. Living a life in accordance to manifestation principles or human design or any kind of spiritual concepts or coaching concepts doesn't mean that life is void of challenge. And I think so many people get this confused. They think that when we tap into living life with beautiful concepts that support us and guide us, it means that life is void of challenge. Actually, it's just that we're able to navigate challenges in an easier way. And so it looks on the outside as though things are simpler, but technically, life is never void of challenge. We're just able to understand how we move through challenge easier. And so living in accordance to your strategy when it comes to your human design is really beneficial. And how this looked for me is that at the beginning of this year, I'd started to really come up against different crossroads in my career path and was really questioning what I wanted to do. I knew I really wanted to help people, but at what cost? Because I was producing courses and I was working using a mindset that I had when I didn't have children to try and grow my empire. And I realized that I needed to let go of my old company in order to rebirth something completely new. And as a generator, what happens is that the universe gives me breadcrumbs, and those are the breadcrumbs that I then get to respond to. The breadcrumbs were starting to show me that I had very intense feelings about what was happening. And as an emotional authority, I know that my emotions guide me into making decisions. Now, as an emotional authority, it doesn't mean that when you're excited, you're saying yes, or when you're feeling down, you're saying no. You're using all the different points of data that are coming to you from the crumbs that the universe are providing you in order to gain information. And once you have data, that's when you can make a decision. And what this looked like for me is that I'd started putting many different options on the table again of should I maybe go into architecture? Should I maybe go into social media management for other people? Should I maybe try out my hand at photography again? And I'd put all these options out on the table because I know that your mind, especially when we look at it through the lens of human design, our head center is actually the center where we tap into the realm of infinite possibilities. And so a question that I would ask myself, and this is the number one journal prompt that I promised I would share with you, is this: Dear universe, show me all the possibilities that exist to me now. As somebody who has worked with the subconscious mind for a long time now, I know that when you say to yourself, I can't, it closes itself off to finding different solutions. And so by asking myself this question, show me all the different possibilities that exist for me right now, I was able to start unashamedly putting all my options on the table. By putting all of those different options on a table, I was then able to see what I had in front of me in order to respond. And that is my strategy. It's to respond. So once I had all of my different options, that's when I could start tapping into my authority. And this is the second step that I would always recommend people follow when it comes to their human design. 1, follow your strategy. 2, follow your authority. How do you make decisions? Now that you've got the breadcrumbs coming to you, and it will look different depending whether you're a projector, a manifestor, generator, etc. But once you start to the process of getting different breadcrumbs that you're either responding to, or you're feeling invited to, or you're seeing your environment being reflected back to you, or there's ideas being initiated for you, that is when you then need to learn how to make decisions that are correct for you. I really do believe that our direction in life is determined by the decisions that we make. And so by understanding how we're designed to make decisions, we're able to move through life in a way where we're never second guessing ourselves. Now, what happens when we don't second guess ourselves? We don't play the what if game. We move more into trust within ourselves. And the universe responds to the frequency that we're operating in. And so when you're operating in a frequency where you've got your own back and you trust yourself, the universe will give you more things in order to feel trusted about. And this is what started to happen in my life. I had started receiving breadcrumbs. So the week I decided to dive into the possibility of going back into architecture, did I not meet somebody on a beach whose dad owns an architecture firm? He does some work for that architecture firm. And my husband, elbowing me in the ribs, was going, "Oh, look, he has an option for architecture." Well, my whole body in that moment started to contract. And I could feel that sacral hell no feeling as a generator. Even though I'm an emotional authority, I've still got my sacral as my secondary authority going, oh no, this is not the right thing for you. And feeling that contraction made me go within myself. And that was the surefire sign that I needed to know what was for me and what was not for me. And so I just kept collecting these pieces of information, these pieces of data. And what had really helped me is that I had taken a full week out of my life to just be. I'd stopped trying to hustle my way into finding my purpose. I'd stopped trying to force ideas to come to me. I just slowed down in order to speed up, and I stopped rushing. I allowed myself to go to a park and to sit there for hours on end, not needing to be anywhere. The only thing that I had to do that week was to look after my babies, to take my eldest to school, who had just started that very week, and to just simply enjoy life. Now, what this was doing on a secondary level was filling me up with satisfaction, which is why my gut instincts were starting to grow stronger as a generator, because I was feeling more satisfied in life, because I wasn't rushing around. I wasn't doing things that I thought I should be doing or have to be doing. I literally gave myself the very big permission slip of, I get to just be for this week. And that is, I think, the greatest gift that human design gives anyone, is the permission slip to be who they are naturally. And so I'm not saying that my way will necessarily work for you, but when you find the permission slips that you need and you are able then to give them to yourself, you'll start to see that you're going to go against the grain, but that is how you find the light. You find the answers that come from within. And by taking this time off, by choosing myself, I was making better decisions by following my authority. And that is that what led me to really stepping into my lucky girl energy. And this is the third thing I want to talk about today. Inside our beings is a crystal called our magnetic monopole. And this lives inside our identity center. And this is always attracting experiences to us. It's always ensuring that we're in the right place at the right time. Now, I want to rewind on the experience of me being at a beach and finding this person whose dad was an architect and he works in architecture. A lot of the time, people may have said, oh, but that's a sign that you need to go into that. And this is where I think so many people get confused between what is actually a sign that you're on the right path and how to really use a sign in a way that works for you. Which is why, again, I love human design, because human design will give us the tools to know how to navigate signs in a way that we understand how they're communicating to us uniquely. For me, having that sign come up was a moment to stop, to pause, and then to respond. And I could feel my whole body contracting, which was my body saying no. It wasn't saying yes. And I know we're about to talk about stepping into your lucky girl energy and bringing the right people and the right situations into your life. And again, you could have said, well, isn't it lucky that you found this person? It's an opportunity that the universe is clearly giving you. You would be an idiot to say no to it. But again, I was in the right place at the right time, collecting that piece of data. And now I know there is not a doubt inside my being that believes that architecture was ever going to be the correct path for me. And I know that so deeply now because I followed my authority. And so I kept moving through life like this. And at the same time, I was activating my magnetic monopole. There are 8 energies that you work with inside your magnetic monopole that help you attract the desires to you. It's really, truly learning to love yourself, both your lightness and your darkness. It's learning how to empower yourself. How do you stick to your boundaries? How do you move through life leading yourself? Do you say yes to the things that you want to say yes to? Or do you say yes to things that you don't want to say yes to and you do them resentfully? How do you lead yourself? Are you able to authentically express yourself through that gate 1 of, do you feel that you're wearing the clothes that really represent you as a person? Do you move through life in that kind of way where you feel well expressed, that your throat is expressing the stories that you have on your heart? Are you able to forgive the past through gate 13? We can only create a future as big as our abilities to let go of the past. If we are still holding onto the past, we are only going to create from the mindset of, well, this happened in the past and therefore it's probably going to happen again. We have to learn to forgive the past, to learn from the past, and to move on from it. And that's what we do through gate 13. I was connecting to the universe every single day. And this is the second journal prompt that got me through the dark night of the soul that I had. It was, "Dear universe, show me how I get to be a vessel for greater work in this lifetime." And even though I would journal on this on a continuous basis and I never got the answers straight away, I always had hope in my heart that the answers would find me. And they did, through the way of the breadcrumbs showing up to me then stopping, pausing, reflecting to see how I would respond to them, and waiting for emotional clarity to come through on what my next steps would be. So can you start to see this is all starting to work in a very holistic way? And at the base of it all is me really just understanding how to move through life in a way that supports how I am designed to move through life. I was also really making sure that I took care of my physical vitality through Gate 46. And over the last year, I've shed close to 30 kgs as well, which has also been a brilliant extra bonus side effect from just living in accordance to my human design. It's happened so naturally and so easily because I embodied the identity of the version of myself who was the healthiest. And because I'd be doing the self-love work, the self-empowerment work, and all of these things simultaneously, these are the results I have today. But looking after my health is one of my greatest assets because I know that my health is my wealth. And human design has really been a huge guiding factor in how I've moved back into homeostasis with my body. And my body is just responding so beautifully again to the environments that I put it in and the nutrition that I ingest. And that can both be through information as well as food and water and supplements, etc. I have also learned how to deeply receive. And this is a journey that I'm still very much on. But through Gate 2 in human design, we learn how to open our hearts and to receive. And so maybe you're watching this and you can start by doing something little, which is, how can you receive a compliment today? How can you ask for somebody to hold a door for you and thank them and not feel like in that moment you need to repay them right there and then? How can you genuinely just receive? Thank you. I accept that. I receive that. And lastly, I asked myself how I was being a part of something greater than myself. And this is what we learned through Gate 15. Gate 15 is the gate of humanity, and it asks, how are you being of service? And so again, that journal prompt of, "Dear universe, show me how I am a vessel to something greater working and channeling through me," also tied into that of, how am I here to serve a greater purpose? And so those are the three things I continually focused on: following my strategy, following my authority, and aligning with my lucky girl energy. And slowly but surely, things started to drastically shift in my life. I simplified everything in my life. I looked at my company, I looked at the finances, I looked at the structures, and I got rid of everything that I thought I needed in order to be successful. And I really streamlined everything. I streamlined all of the softwares, the services, and everything. And even though it wasn't a comfortable experience to do this, it was deeply emotional and very uncomfortable. It was such a necessary step that I can see. And again, I'm so grateful to all of the things that I was doing behind the scenes because it attracted all of these things to start unfolding. So that was the first point of me discovering my purpose and where I'm meant to be, was to streamline everything. We're so often used to, as human beings, making our lives harder than what they need to be because we all, to some extent, carry the martyr wound, and we wear a badge of honor of how hard we've had to fight to get to where we are. And so a question that I kept asking myself was, how can I make my life simpler here? How can I make my life more fulfilling here? And slowly but surely, the simplicity started to happen. Then extra things started to show themselves to me. So I had no idea where I would end up, but every single time I follow my strategy and my authority, the next steps become available to me. And I had a moment where I had planned to do an event to impart wisdom with people, and not a single soul signed up. And I know for so many people that might be watching this, you'll be asking, but how do I know like what I should be doing? Give me the exact steps. And the thing that I've really deeply learned through following my human design and understanding human design, which really is the science of differentiation. It's how we're all so unique and how we're so uniquely wired to achieve health, wealth, happiness, success, is that there is no one pathway that would ever exist for you to achieve your greatness. And this is by far the hardest thing I've had to accept, is that no one has walked the path that I'm walking ever before. And so the only way I get to forge my path is by forging it and going first. And that can often be difficult, because if you think of yourself as forging a new path, maybe this metaphor will help you understand this better. But if you're in a bush right now and there are trees and thick grasslands and there are no carved pathways, it's going to be really tricky to navigate your way through a field. And you're going to get blackjacks and you're going to have grass tickling your ears. But it's through trudging through that you will maybe find views that nobody else has ever experienced before. And so if you're on the pathway right now to trying to discover your purpose, it's not all going to come to you in one lump go. It's always going to unfold itself slowly. You're always going to have one step revealed to you at a time. And so stop wanting a big piece of information to drop in and for that to completely change your life. If you just take the small steps of action every single day, slowly but surely, when you're moving in accordance to your strategy, when you're moving in accordance to understanding how you make decisions through your authority, and you're activating your lucky girl energy, you're going to get to a point where everything falls into place better than you could ever have imagined. But I know that it can be really scary being at the precipice where there's just darkness in front of you and it's the fear of the unknown and you don't know where to go. This is, again, why I love human design so much, because it gives you the tools to navigate that darkness with, to trust in yourself, to trust that there is something guiding you. In my next video, I'll be dissecting how to activate your magnetic monopole so that you can step into lucky person syndrome and attract anything that you desire.